Before I used Facebook or Twitter, Tumblr, WordPress, or Learn, I was making digital slideshows. Sure, I had an academic interest in the concept of seeing, as put forward by this guy, Joseph Albers, but mainly I just wanted to fool around with narrative and expressionistic forms other than writing. Writing was my whole existence, and I put too much pressure on myself to do it right. With photos and eventually videos, I felt free to experiment, and those experiments in turn taught me a lot about writing. The first video I made was about Leonard Knight. He made a brightly colored 150-foot tall adobe mountain next to the Salton Sea in California. The Salvation Mountain video and a whole collection of other videos I've made since 2006 were lost in a hard drive crash. They may or may not exist somewhere on CD, perhaps at my mother-in-law's, but that's another story. This is a more recent video, which I still have because I rendered it through YouTube. Before I made it, I had been taking photos and videos as part of my writing process for a couple of years. The visual record supplemented my memory at first, but eventually it taught me how my impressions change after an initial viewing. I realized that a genuine critique would have to take account for that possibility, so I began to view myself as a mediator of ideas rather than as an authority. In other words, I let the content be my guide.
Beautiful as possible, essentially like rhinestones and flowers. Very stereotypical, pretty.
It's funny, this digital narrative is based on a script. I'm reading it word for word. In fact, most professional audio and video materials are scripted, or at least composed. But when I incorporate audio and video into class assignments, my students almost always think of the work as informal, non-writing. Much like I did when I made that video about Leonard Knight. This assumption provides us with the opportunity to talk about the writing process as one that not only includes many forms of composition, but also many writers. I'm thinking about the applications of photos and videos for pre-writing research, visual outlines, and peer review, as well as small and major writing assignments, but I'm also thinking about the process itself as the writing product. I know journalists now who post clips, photos, and interview materials on their blogs or social media so that readers can follow a story as it develops. In many cases, readers even become their sources. This is incredibly instructive for the purposes of the classroom. If students begin to publish their research early on, they have to engage it more deeply right from the start. And if people will be following them as the story develops online, our students will also have to be thinking about their audience's expectations. They'll want to be taken seriously. And when they get to that final piece, whether it's audio, video, multimedia web page, or good old-fashioned print, the content will tell them how to proceed. Plus, with all that content online, they won't have to worry about losing it with a hard drive crash.